these things, we can track for schools, activities like energy, water, waste, or stakeholders, as I mentioned, like, school operations, students participate, faculty officers, we segregate waste at source. And there are underground tunnels. Collectively, we can at least contribute, like collectively, we are able to reduce the carbon footprint by engaging the stakeholders. So let me start off here because when I talk about carbon footprint, I need to cover some basic slides. Our planet Earth is facing challenges from industrial revolution from 1850s, 60s, 70s onwards, right? Various reasons. I don't want to go into nitty-gritties of what is real root cause of climate change because that I normally run for students. But we need to meet the global warming we kept between 1.5 degrees Celsius to 2 degrees Celsius from the Industrial Revolution. But I believe that we already crossed 2 because the kind of climate temperature or heat I face in Singapore, we already crossed 2 degrees Celsius. Many countries have target, to meet net zero by 2050. Singapore 2050, India 2070. Why countries need such a longer period to meet net zero? Because the politicians who make the net zero target will not be there to answer to our queries. Have we met the net zero? Because they'll not be living that long. That's why they go to COP meetings from 1995 onwards. They make this promise and they come back home. They do nothing about communicating, broadcasting, the every individual, how they can take simple actions to mitigate the climate change induced carbon footprint. Right. So what is, why global warming, right? Trapped greenhouse gases cause the Earth temperature to rise. And, like everybody, just like, like we said, okay, fine, like Earth has got sedimentary rocks, it has got various kind of layers and all. When we leave the planet Earth, we'll be leaving our carbon footprint. At some point of time in the future, there may be polar bears will be existing, we'll have essential threats for humanity, and then we'll only have carbon footprint because of carbon footprint, every life form on the planet Earth will be affected. If we don't take action, we need a green we need a UV umbrella to protect planet Earth, right? But you may ask this question: what is the United Nations doing about climate change and global warming? They do nothing. They formed, all this membership associations, COP, Conference of Parties, and all. They started in 1995. They go and attend. They'll take private jets. They will go and stay in five-star hotels. They'll have lavish lunch, dinner. They'll talk about it. They'll come back. They will not talk about how everybody can participate to meet the net zero, right? They only fix targets. And recently, you would have heard United States is not accepting the climate change related report. They're withdrawing. And yesterday's budget in Singapore government is also thinking about, if major country like United States is withdrawing from that, what we should be doing, right? Singapore is forefront in adopting technology as well as practices, to meet the net zero by 2050. Certain goals are already been preponed to 2030, right? So you would have heard about 17 SDG goals, but meeting these SDG goals is like climbing a mountain without oxygen and water. Yes, we have a goal there, but how do I meet that goal? No answer, because they will put pressure on companies, SMEs, education institutions, you meet net zero, but not putting the pressure on the actual consumers, actual end users who are individuals who are consuming everything in a day-to-day basis, right? So there is a clear lack of awareness. When you say lack of awareness, nobody cares about climate change impact. Only when there's a flooding, when there's a pollution, when there's a sea level rise, when there's like a forest fire, bushfire like happening in Australia and all, then they will blame the government. But as an individual, we are the ultimate consumers. Business is not the consumer, right? Because business is only an intermediary party. They manufacture for you. So if you decide not to buy, if you decide not to consume, business will get the signal. They will not be manufacturing They will not be creating, producing, and then try to dump it on, like dump it on us because they want to sell more and more. So business will never meet the net zero target. And all of us, like we always want to buy things whether we need it or not. If you look, if you have seen my photo, I've been wearing a T-shirt which I wore even when I went and met the Prime Minister of Singapore 3 years back during an Go Green SG campaign period, right? So we keep on buying whether we need or not because businesses, companies, they will know how to sell. They will say 1+1, buy only today, 90% off, year-end sale, Deepavali sale, because most of you are from India, right? Deepavali sale, some other sale will happen. They want to keep on sell to you, and then you keep on buying more and more. That is the root cause of climate change induced carbon footprint, right? We waste energy, whether we need one simple LED light, we'll burn up, like we'll switch on many lights, we'll keep the air conditioner on. I now, for example, I'm in Singapore, it's extreme hot, it's like Chennai, but I switch on my air conditioner 1 hour and I switch it off for next 1 hour, so that, like I optimally use what is required when it's required. So that is what, because energy is the most scarce resource on the earth. Future war will be fought on water and energy, right? Because nobody has got excess energy. You see many cities within India. Singapore, we don't have power cut, but within India, they'll find that power cut, load shedding, all this will happen because there's an excess of energy consumption demand is there, and power plants and solar farms will not be able to produce to meet the demand, right? And environmental degradation. I don't need to talk about, you'll see that a mining quarry, they'll be given to, let's say, extract, for 10 meters, they'll go down up to 80 meters to extract things. And they will actually destroy forests, deforestation happens. All this things are root cause of climate change, right? And again, nobody talks about this. This has become like a stigma, like population growth. Which, you tell me, which country, except Singapore, which country can plan and provide infrastructure based on population growth? Because there's no control on population. You cannot build an infrastructure hoping that there'll be let's say now it's let's say 8.5 billion, tomorrow 10 billion. You can't be keep on building infrastructure. Everything costs money, resources, time. So we need to ensure population also root cause of climate change, let's say, in your carbon footprint. Finally, the ego, don't care. I don't care. It's not going to affect me because I'm not responsible. Somebody else is responsible, right? So we need to ensure everybody is responsible because we are consuming, and that is why there's a climate change induced carbon footprint happen. That's destroying the habitable place for current and future generations, right? Nation splits, net zero 2050, 2070. I think they go and take a photo op, like they all promise but they deliver zero, right? So what is net zero, right? Because Singapore has to meet by 2050, India has to meet by 2070. But who will achieve net zero, right? Can we really reach net zero, meet net zero without understanding our carbon footprint? We'll never be able to do that, right? So carbon footprint, CO2, right? So what is carbon footprint, right? Everything what you consume, you do on a day-to-day basis. When you consume electricity, water, gas, plastic, paper, travel, transportation, everything is actually induces carbon footprint into the environment. So the more we reduce consumption, use optimally, then we will reduce our own carbon footprint. It's like, asking, any individual, what is your height, right? Nobody can change that after some period of time. What's your weight? You can actually take some efforts to reduce your weight, right? But carbon footprint, unless you reduce consumption, you'll not be able to reduce your carbon footprint because we'll leave a footprint on this world. So we need to ensure, we need to understand, like what is the carbon footprint, what we're consuming, what we're inducing. That is why carbon footprint tracking is important. What you measure is what you can track, and what you track is what you can reduce. There's scope 1, 2, 3, in a simple term, scope 1 is, what is under control. Let's say you're driving a vehicle, car, you're putting a petrol, you can decide not to drive that car, you can take a public transport, anything under your control in consumption, right? That is scope 1. Scope 2 is electricity because somebody else somebody else generates that electricity as a service and you consume it. Everything else is, classified in scope 3, right? So what is net zero, right? Net zero is basically, it's not, our environment is going to have zero carbon, right? It is basically what you induce in the environment, release in the environment. minus what you take from the carbon footprint from the environment. You need to make it net zero from 2070 onwards. What you release, you got to take it out. Various technologies are available, and again, responsible consumption. Humanity will play a major role in net zero, right? So it's time to act and save our planet. So I've been trying this for last 3 years, and nobody cares. Either the government or companies or SMEs, nobody cares. Then I found, it's better to educate students, be it a school, be it colleges. They are the best hope for us to educate them, empower them, and they will fix the thing. They're the only solution or tool available to fix what we are inducing the carbon footprint in the environment, right? So schools, colleges, university can play a major role, and there has been a guideline, I think, in past last year or previous that year, by UGC. There's a 6 months compulsory core module for all undergraduate students on environmental studies. This is by UGC. And it has got, it had a field work. Field work is basically, visit a local area, visit a polluted site, study of, simple ecosystems and all. And they also graded some marks, but there is no carbon footprint at all. Without carbon footprint, nobody can get an entry-level job also in the sustainability sector, right? So the current curriculum lacks. They do not teach about carbon footprint. I've seen even ninth standard, 10th standard, there are some chapters on environmental science, maybe biodiversity, maybe waste, maybe pollution and all, but there's no carbon footprint for the schools. But we have been talking to some universities. The universities also, it is about, water conservation, pollution, waste management, biodiversity, sustainability, but there's no carbon footprint. So how will the students be able to understand, take action, or how will they even plan to get a job or internship in the industry? Because without carbon footprint, they'll not be able to get that. There are also limited qualified teachers, faculty members are available to teach carbon footprint. We have signed an MOU with a university in India. Their environmental science for the first year students is taught by IT faculty members, right? So there are gaps in teaching environment science for employability and in sustainability. I will talk about climate change. I will talk about green skills, but there's no action happens ground. That we are not interested in that. We really want to we want to partner with individuals, institutions, schools, colleges, government, companies, so that there's some action happens. And that action really results in reducing the carbon footprint and meet the net zero target of the respective countries, right? The app is called Planet Sustain. It's available from Google Play and App Store. Anyone can go and download, and you can sign up free, and you can use it for 1 month free. Let me go into once you sign up, once you register and you get your membership and password, you log in. There is a main page called electricity, transport, water, gas, plastic, paper, travel, transportation, waste, new purchases. There's also student-related activities like donate, plant tree, and recycle. Let me quickly go through. Let's say you want to understand when you use electricity at home or in businesses or in education institution, how does that translates into a carbon footprint? This example, you click on electricity, you select the source of electricity because the emission factor will differ based on the source. For coal, it's 0.9 or 0.8. For natural gas, it's 0.4057. So if you know the source, you select. Otherwise, you select electric supply as a common one. The unit of measurement of electricity is always kilowatt hour. It is not units, but in India, some are conveniently recording it as units. It's equivalent to 1 kilowatt hour. Because in Singapore, we use natural gas. 95% electricity is generated by natural gas. The emission factor is very, very low, 0.4057. Just for your information only, but what you can do, let's say you consume some electricity for the last month, you look for the bill. I've entered data for April 2024, so I consume 960 kilowatt hours. So when I select month 9, this is the two-step process. Select a month, look at your bill, enter the units or kilowatt hour, and click plus. You will know that, like for consuming 960 kilowatt hour in April 2024, my carbon footprint induced in the environment is 391 kg CO2. You can use it for, like transport, water, gas, plastic, paper, and all. When you register for the app, you'll also receive a user manual how to. It's a two-step process only. Let's say you're driving a vehicle. If you're consuming petrol or diesel, if you bought the petrol or diesel, just put in, select a month, put in the number of liters. If you're taking a public transport, select a month, put in the approximate kilometers you travel, right? For students, engage students, We want them to donate more and more books, more and more, clothes to others who may need it. Because when you cut down, buying a new book, or when you're using the books again, it cut down the carbon footprint, because you don't need to cut down a tree, you don't need to generate the books again. We also want them to donate the good clothes, because clothes actually contribute to more by 10% of carbon emission. Students can also, engage in planting trees either in their own city or any other city. I've done it once around 4 or 5 years back. They can keep a record. But currently, when they plant a tree, planting a tree is not going to, give an offset from day one. It has to grow. The trunk has to grow. The carbon sink has to grow. So they can keep a record. And the carbon offset values can be taken on a yearly basis, provided it's verified. And there's also some incentives from government of India. Again, recycling, reduce, recycle, and extend the life cycle of a particular, products, for example, laptop, a mobile phone, all those, you can track. It's for academic purpose only, not for unless it's verified, you cannot really take a carbon offset credit, right? So you can also look at your main dashboard. It will give you all the energy types: electricity, water, gas, plastic, paper, travel, transportation, what you consume, what is the unit of what is the unit you consume. For example, is it in kgs? Is it in kilowatt hour, cubic meter, liters, and corresponding carbon footprint in kg CO2? At the bottom, you have offset when you donate a book or clothes, when you plant a tree or recycle. If it's a business, SME, educational institutions, schools, colleges, no, they can also generate a report from the app itself. You can also look at your scope 1 to 3, as I mentioned earlier, right? So scope 1 is direct under your control. Scope 2 is mostly electricity. Scope 3 is everything else: travel, and then commute to work or work from home. All those are scope 3. We also work with SMEs, corporate and MSMEs to track and create awareness among employees, track the carbon footprint, engage the stakeholder like employees and suppliers, because scope 3 emission actually is contributed by, also by employees and suppliers. I can discuss this if anybody has any interest in this, to build a green brand
Planet
and green
Sustain is a
campus. Right? Our solution is industry agnostic. We can work with any industry, be it educational institution, government, or MSMEs, businesses, or even NGOs. We can do that. I've given, somebody asked me, you're Bhaskaran, you say you're a practitioner. I take an example. I was consuming around 1010. It's actually a screenshot from my electricity bill summary. I was consuming around 1000 kilowatt hour. So I took a challenge, and then in March 2025, my consumption has come down to 657 kilowatt hour per month. I was paying electricity. Electricity is very expensive in Singapore, $288. Now the electricity per unit has gone up, per kilowatt has gone up. So I was able to reduce from 288 to 187, almost $100 per month, $1,200 per year. So actually, I'm saving cost by reducing my electricity consumption, right? So one for all for one. I want to partner. We can partner through Pallikkutam. We can partner with schools and colleges, because the best wealth what you will leave behind for your children, for your next generation, is not gold, not assets, not buildings. It is an habitable earth. Rest all will not be of any use unless the planet is habitable, right?
When efforts are made to reduce carbon emissions in one sector, for example, transport, to what extent might those emissions be shifted to another sector, for example, electricity generation or mineral extraction, etc.? And how should this be evaluated through a full life cycle assessment or whatever? That is a question, sir.
Every sector contributes to carbon footprint. The quantum or a percentage carbon footprint varies based on the consumption, primarily humanity, right? It's a humanity is the root cause of all the climate change related impacts. All life forms practice sustainability. They will only hunt when they're hungry. We are a great accumulator. We keep on accumulating. You'll find the easiest path to travel. We will not take public transport. We will take private transport, even with the one person driving, right? But, it also depends country to country what kind of infrastructure that country has. In Singapore, I don't take any private transport. I will take only public transport, because it's well structured, right? It depends, right? So, as I said, like, transport, like in India, right, transport could be major. The root cause is not that you're using a vehicle. You are driving in a congested, heavily congested, right? Every time your engine is running, it consumes more and more petrol and diesel. You are at a traffic light, people do not follow traffic signals. Instead of 3 lane, the 6 lanes, 9 lanes will be formed. So it's a behavioral change what is required from every individual, to reduce the carbon footprint. As I said, like I don't buy clothes just because, it's my birthday, it's my something else. I will buy only when I need it. I don't consume what is not required for me. If they take that conscious decision, that's why, behavioral change, consciousness is there, and they need to understand what am I leaving for my future generation. All these assets will disappear. One flood comes, entire house can be demolished, right? Sea level rise, cities will be gone. So you need to ensure, like, no, I'm going to leave an habitable planet for my children. I'm going to, just like our ancestors left to somewhat extent, right? Earlier, Singapore was cooler than Cochin and Chennai. Today, the heat is as good as, Cochin and Chennai. That is what has happened. It's not because, like Singapore, is consuming more and more. We have very well, like laid out infrastructure because the surroundings. Many people say, like, no, if I use a EV vehicle, will it reduce the carbon footprint? No, it depends on the source of the EV electricity. Is it generated with a clean energy? If I'm driving a EV vehicle in, let's say, in Bangalore, if the source is from a coal thermal power plant, right? It's not solving the issue. You're just shifting the problem from one city to another place. That's all you're doing. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Thank you for that answer. We have other questions. One question from Setu Madhavan. So, what is the procedure to work on e-waste as business opportunity? What are the certifications required before starting the same? Looking for this in India about internships and maybe funding.
I'm not from India, right? In Singapore, we segregate waste at source. And there are underground tunnels. The tunnel could be as high as like 20 meters, the circumference, right? The radius. Everything gets collected. We burn 95% of the waste because burn and we generate electricity. There are some, like new things have come up, like e-waste. People collect e-waste. They try to fix certain things. They try to, expand the life cycle of that particular laptop or mobile phone. Again, business are supposed to blame. Earlier, like I can change my battery of a phone, LG phone, when the battery goes down, it's duration of, like I can go and just change the battery. Today, everything is embedded. They won't let you to take away anything because they want to keep selling phones. Every year, this phone has got, 40 MP. Am I buying a phone or am I buying a camera? Am I in the business of taking photos all the time? And people take photos, keep on uploading, I'm here, I'm there. Who really bothers where you are, right? Uh, so we need to ensure, like, when we increase the data center storage, we are also increasing the carbon footprint. There's no green data centers unless there is a green data. There's no green data center, right? So I'm not able to answer like what are the certifications required, all those things because in Singapore, like it's all segregated source and then e-waste. We try to extend by repairing certain things, and I've also mentioned this to parliamentary panel when I meet. You need to put a guidelines for all the manufacturers to give an extended warranty of 3 to 5 years so that people don't keep on changing the phones because if the phone battery dies, they go and change they just go and buy a new phone. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. That's what we see. Yeah. So thank you. Another question. To what extent are contemporary climate change claims supported by empirical scientific data, and how strong is the consensus across climate science research?
People do research. The research outcome can vary. They can change the research outcome based on the source of the data, right? And there are some AI models being run, where you can actually input data. That's why the data collection is important, right? Because we don't have that data at all. If tomorrow India, at least 1 billion of individuals, trying to reduce the carbon footprint, the data is collected, we have much better quality of data available for us to do a research and come with the outcome. What was once right, it could be wrong today. What is wrong today, it could be right tomorrow. That is how scientists, researchers work, and companies also aid them, in getting these research papers out. They will say, like, this particular supplement is good for your health. After a few years, they'll find, this supplement is not good for your health, right? So you need to know, like, we don't need to worry about all this. I'm an individual. I will take a conscious decision to adopt responsible consumption, reduce my carbon footprint. Everybody will fall in line. I'll give an example. Let's say a car manufacturer, his job is to sell more and more cars in India. The CEO's payout is related to the top line as well as the profit margin. Do you think that company will be interested in reducing the carbon footprint, meeting the net zero? No, because the profitability is linked to CO2. As an user, because I don't own a car, if every Indian decide I won't buy a car, the company will get a signal. They will not manufacture, but you would have seen in China acres and acres of parks, EV vehicles parked, no buyers at all, right? Because they need to an incentive and then gets exploited in the US. Tesla, gets most of its funding, revenue from, like EV vehicles, incentives and all. So we don't need to worry about, see, whether we meet the scientific outcome. I can feel it myself. In Singapore, it is hotter than Chennai. So I know, we already crossed two, but, they will not reveal it to you because where is the real, because every country has its own, like agenda in place.
Yes, yes, sir. Absolutely. And okay, so there is another question by a participant. How can schools incorporate carbon footprint measurement analysis and reduction into core academic learning outcomes rather than additional, courses or internships being done?
Currently, like, schools, I think they have some chapters in standard 9 and 10, some chapters are there, but there is no carbon footprint related text there. There's no course at all. Carbon footprint cannot be read. It cannot be theoretical in learning. You need to experience it. Students have to understand. I'm taking a public transport. My father's driving me to school. I'm consuming electricity at home. I'm using appliances. They got to adopt responsibility. It's better to track, measure, and that, initial some, elementary knowledge. Because nobody, like we all talk about carbon footprint. Today's session, because we had a time limit, I never went into root causes of climate change, right? They need to understand, how every action of theirs in the past and the present, how it's inducing carbon footprint, and they need to adopt, be conscious, and reduce it. So we can work with such schools and then conduct some free webinars for them, and then talk to them with how they want to participate and collaborate. We can even work through Pallikkutam as a core.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So there was another question like how can schools design structured home and school-based carbon footprint reduction activities? I think you already answered part of it, so that's fine.
We,
So let's.
as I mentioned, one of the, there's a school in Delhi, and that is, use onboarded around 500 students. The simple activities for them, for us to create that awareness, advocacy, taking climate action. Because whenever somebody takes climate action, the easiest thing, for them is to go and plant tree. And that plant will not be, sapling will not be there next day. You need to maintain over a period of time, the tree has to grow to create the carbon sink to get an offset, right? But, student can take action. When you reduce even 1 kilowatt hour in a day, that is a real action you're taking. In the one university, our app and the program is already into the curricula as per the NAC, NAB, and then NEP 2020, and the students go through webinars, activities, and all. So we can work with such schools and colleges.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Another question, sir. So many of the things we produce and consume leaves a large carbon footprint. As already like, we are now aware of a part of it from your session. So, but it is guided by economics, which makes it difficult to contain them. This includes the use of plastics and crude oil and such.
Yeah. Who's using those plastics and crude oil?
Us.
You are right. If Kiran, sorry, did I address your name? Correct?
No, my name is Kiran, sir. Yes.
Kiran, yeah. If
Yeah.
Kiran decides he has a, let's say, vehicle, car, and then he has to travel somewhere, he decides, I will not take the vehicle today because it's going to induce more carbon footprint because I'm the only person who's going to drive, right? But if he decides to take a public transport, he's immediately, he's implementing the reduction responsible consumption. It is ultimately us. It's not business. It's not SME. It's not government. It is us. If I don't want to buy anything, if I don't get, they do like, in the movie, I think Jungle Book, right? The snake actually hypnotizes, right? They hypnotize us. Today only sale 90% off, one plus one free. Don't fall for that. If you don't need it, don't buy it. They will fall in line. They will exempt from the earth from business altogether, right? Yeah. We can take
Yeah.
action.
Yes. I mean, the change should start from us, individual, independent.
That's why I
Yes.
don't blame it. It's not you, it's me. That's what should be there. But they say like, it's not me, it's you.
Yes. 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 It should be us. Yes. So in that lane, I have a question to ask. So, you know, I've written it down. So yeah. So what is the environmental impact of large scale AI deployment? Because like we are now seeing a lot of, if the presentations are there, like most of them would be generated from AI. So there would be a lot of AI in everything, right? So what is the environmental impact of large scale AI deployment in terms of energy consumption, carbon emissions, and data center infrastructure? So and also, if we have to link it with education, so how can students critically evaluate the environmental implications of AI technologies while also learning to use them responsibly? That is a question from me, sir.
Today, AI is exploited to the core, right? The amount of that's why electricity is the scarcest resource on the planet Earth. You need electricity to run the data center. Data centers are not, like AI is also like you need to run the GPUs, servers, and everything, right? People use it as a default. They don't even, if I ask somebody, what is 10 plus 18, right? They might go and use AI to get the answer. They will not think through because it's an artificial intelligence. Biggest intelligence is our brain itself. Nobody can replicate that. So we should restrict use of AI in schools. Totally, it should be banned. Just like Australia has banned social media access to children under 16 years old. We should ban that, because for schools, AI should be used only when there is a requirement, when they're doing some research, right? Because today, students, you get an homework assignment, they'll use AI, ChatGPT, Gemini, whatever it is, they'll produce an excellent result and they'll submit to you. My daughter teaches statistics and mathematics as part of data science in Sydney, Australia. And she can make out when she gives an assignment to the students, she can make out whether it's generated by an AI or by themselves. Because when she asks a question, students are not able to at least answer 30 to 40% of what they've written, right? If you generate, because there is no control on AI use also, it's free. It's free means, everybody uses, it can be used from phone, it can be used on laptops, everything, right? They use it. You put a restriction because any service which is free, they're collecting your data. And that data is not stored within India. It will be exported to a country like US and all. So we should, ban AI, and then teachers, schools teachers should give assignments, homework and all, which it cannot be replicated by an AI, which cannot be answered by an AI, right? So they can look at all this, to me, like AI is only an additional tool when it's required to be used, but it cannot be a default platform because then, our children will lose the natural intelligence. And tomorrow there's no electricity, everybody will be out of business altogether.
Yes, so that you
And
are
I tell because
absolutely right.
I'm part of the Asia Pac Sustainable Adaptive Council, which is headed by Hewlett Packard. They're all data center companies. I tell them there's nothing like a green data center. It's as long as your data is green, which means that like as I said, like we keep on taking photos and photos, uploading in Google, store it WhatsApp, backup and all. Where does it stay? You have primary data center, you have backup data center, you got recovery data center, replicated in multiple locations. Look at how much of energy, GPU power, electricity you're wasting. Individuals do not have the basic awareness. That's what I want to create. I'm not an domain expert, like in many areas, but I want to create the lack of awareness because everybody needs to take a baby step, which is critical now.
Yes. Right, sir. So in our pedagogy, we actually like similar to what you're saying that we have been losing the skills while we are, giving all of our tasks to AI. We eventually lose all our skills. So we have actually developed a pedagogy which says that we have to develop AI collaborative skills and complementary skills as well. So we actually have like most of us we know in industries and we have info park near us, so they have to use AI for like if it's coding they have to use AI somehow, because if they don't use, others are definitely going to use all of these tools and they are going to get farther from what we have been trying hard to reach. So along with using AI responsibly, collaborating with AI, we also have to develop complementary skills. So we have to, the red ocean, blue ocean strategy. We have to strive and, we have to work harder where AI is not competing against humans. So we have to develop the skills where AI cannot compete with humans. And there are definitely a lot of places where humans shine when AI will be, dull and meek in the side. Like, our thinking and perceptive skills are far beyond the reach of AI. The creativity, the critical thinking, everything. So definitely we have the pedagogy developed in such a way that we have to actually develop skills that AI can never compete with humans. Yes, sir. So I just wanted to
Then
mention.
parents play a major role. When teachers give homework,
Yes.
parents should not allow them to use any AI tool to solve that particular homework, right?
Yes.
And teachers should be innovative to give assignment in such a way that like yes, no, AI can solve, but AI make a lot of mistakes,
Yeah.
right? So
Absolutely. Yes.
they got to be a collaboration between parents, teachers, and the students, because the students can actually develop the natural intelligence at till certain age only. Afterwards, like the brain will not develop. So till school level, AI should be banned, just like Australia's banned social media access to under 16 years.
Yes, yes, sir. Yeah. So it's a 7:15, so we have to respect your schedules and we have a lot of other questions as well. But some of the questions are regarding your sessions and like you mentioned the internship programs. So some have asked about it and some have also asked about whether a session can be taken by you for school students. So maybe just
Yeah, see, my sustainability, creating awareness, encouraging, empowering everyone to adopt sustainability is going to be my life. I'm 60 plus, right? This is what I'm going to do. When people ask me, like, why is that? Like, what are you doing? Like, you can, I run a company, you can do more and more business, you can generate more and more revenue. But I ask them, like, who am I accumulating this for my children, right? Do not think your children are useless and keep on accumulating 2 houses, 3 cars, lots of gold, lots of silver. Don't do that. They're more intelligent than you. They can earn for themselves. You just need to give them some assets for rainy days. Don't make them, weak. Don't make them lazy, right? So I've decided, I will contribute. I will spend my rest of my life in this particular field only. I can conduct sessions. In fact, before your session, I had 2 sessions, right? If this is my everyday evening, this is what happens, I can conduct 3 sessions. Sometime, it's paid by, like colleges, schools, I can understand, like, because I don't need that money. In fact, like when I get some, when the FDP, Atal FDP program conducts, they give me for 90 minutes, 10,000 rupees. I immediately launch a quiz program for children. I give it as a prize money. I don't need single cent. At the same time, when we launch this program, we charge minimal amount so that, anything which is given free, people suspect they don't value that, they will not use it, right? So we can work with you, with your organization. We can work with schools, colleges, we can educate. My presentation for school children will be totally different, right? For educators will be different, for business will be different. So you can write to me, even if they ask the questions, like I can answer them. We can have one more session if required. We can do that.